this makes. And these are the pivoting cubes that we're going to make in this project today. As you can see, it's a lot of fun. You can move them around and actually add a little designs to them. Here's one that I had done before. It's a few little designs, so you'd get diamonds in one, hide the top, all kinds of things that you can do with these. They were so much fun to do. Now it does take one 12 by 12 sheet of cardstock for each one of the boxes because they take up most of that sheet. Not all of it, you'll still have some scrap left over. And of course you're going to need some glue and a way to make those creases nice and firm. I used my Cricut spatula in order to do that. Now just before we get going on making this craft, one last thing. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Here we are in Cricut Design Space, and you should have an SVG file that you upload. It's this one right here. It's called Pivoting Cube. So I have uploaded it before. I'm just going to click on it once and come down here and click on Insert Image. And with anything that comes in as an SVG, for some reason it picks its initial color, which is black. Now if you take a look down the layers panel here, this is the layers panel, right at the bottom there's something called cut and it's all black. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to come up here to line type and I'm going to change it to a lighter color. That enables me to see all the other lines that are in this project. Okay, so we've picked green. Now there are some areas that will remain cut and some of the lines here are going to be score lines. For example, these lines, internal lines here, 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 will all be score lines. So what the first thing I want to do is I want to ungroup everything, and that makes sure that nothing is grouped and I can select them by themselves. For example, here I have all these cut lines. If I click on the eyeball here, you'll see all of the internal lines turn off. I'm going to turn them back on. They are all selected. These are the ones we want to have as score lines. So I'm going to come up here where it says cut under line type. I'm going to click on score. And that is all that we need to do with this particular project. Just going to highlight it. I'm going to group it, and I am going to come down here and attach it so that those score lines stay with the project. Now these are pivoting cubes. We need 4 of these cubes. Now you can have them cut on different material, you can have them different patterns, whatever you want to do with them. Right now, all I'm going to do is I am going to duplicate these, and we'll have a total of 4 copies. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. I want to come up here and I want to save this project, and I'm going to call it Pivoting Cubes. Let's just click on Save. Now we're simply going to go over to make it at this point, and we're going to take a look and see what we get. You're going to find that these all come in 1 piece each. Now, I didn't resize these when we were in Design Space, but you'll notice that it wants the longer mat because of the size. Now, if you don't want to cut on a longer mat, we can go back and make an adjustment, and I will show you how to do that. So I'm just going to cancel this. It's going to come back here. I'm going to get rid of some of the copies, and we're going to adjust the 1. Now let's measure this. I'm just going to move it over to the edge here and the edge here. Now it looks like it only comes down to 8, so we're okay going this way, but look at this. This is almost 14 inches. While we know we can't have it 14 inches, that the maximum we can have is 11.5. So in order to do the adjustment, I can either take this little key here with the double arrows and move it back and forth to get the size I want, or I can be more accurate and come up to the top. Now right at the top you'll find a little lock. Now if I undid the lock, then the width and height can be adjusted separately, but we don't want that because these are put in the exact proportion that we want. So instead of 14, I'm going to highlight the 14 and put 11.5 inches, and then I'm just going to hit the tab key, and it tells me that we now have 6.571, which is perfect. It has sized it proportionally. Now we don't need to do anything else. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to duplicate these again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go back and let's save again because it now has adjusted the size. With these SVG files, it's really easy to make any adjustments that you want. Especially if you have a proportional size, you can make it smaller, you can make it longer. If you had the longer mat, you could even make it bigger than what it was. So let's click on Make It. Now we should see 4 different mats, but now we have the smaller mats. Here is your opportunity to put different color paper for each one of these pivoting cubes. And that would be kind of fun because they're all different colors. You can create different patterns as you move them in and out, and we'll show you how to do that when we get to the assembly part. For now, we're simply going to choose our paper. So let's just click on Continue. It will now come up with a list of paper. Now I find for these pivoting cubes, for me it was much easier when I used a medium cardstock, but you could use anything you want. We just have to make sure you've got the glue and can glue it together the way you need to. So let's go with medium cardstock, and it's going to tell us to put in our scoring wheel first for each one of the mats. Now make sure you have clicked on the top mat to start the process right from the top, so it'll cut them in order. So for the scoring wheel, it always has a number here, and that tells you exactly the type of blade that you need to put in here. In this case, it's a scoring wheel. It has a single blade on it, and it's number 01. So you can always check that. So we are ready to cut, and once we've got this cut, we'll go ahead and show you how to put this together. We'll be right back. Okay, I've put a couple of these together already, but and I've folded this one ready to glue, but I'm going to show you what we need to do here. This is going to be the outside of the box, so I'm going to flip it over, and we're going to fold over every single score line that you can see here. There's another one right there. Now we put the box together. We're going to have an extra flap sticking on the outside, and then this piece right here, these score lines, is going to be the 4th side of the box, not like you see here. So on these ones, I didn't glue it 100% together. We're going to have the flap that slips into one of the other boxes in order to make it stick together in a pivot box. Okay, first thing first, we want to glue to the bottom. This is the bottom of the box. We want these 2 flaps to glue to here. So that's the very first thing I'm going to do. Just add a little bit of glue on both of those. And then I'll just move them in. If you can see this, move this out of the way so I can see. You want to line them up on the bottom. You need it nice and square because everything has to fit into the other. Line that up nice and square. We'll line this one up at the bottom as well. So you can see here, these are pretty well squared together. You need to have them fit perfectly on this side. Great. Okay, that one looks really good. Now we're going to put one side in here, and we're going to glue it in place, just the one side. We have to leave this other side open because we need to add the sliding part inside the pivot box. So the only thing you're going to glue now is the one side closest to the outside edge. That's really important. Don't glue the other side. I'm just going to bring this up. I'm going to square it as much as possible inside there. You could have this flap still out. You want it to bend, so okay, that's looking good. Now this flap will go on the inside, but we are not going to glue it. So we're going to leave that side open. Get it in there. There we go. Now the closure for the box at the top, and this is important, we're just going to fold these flaps in, and all we need to do is glue this piece to here. Now it's a little awkward to get your hands in there, but I'm just going to add a little glue on the edge here. Just going to get that in there. That part. Now since I still have an open flap here, I can get my fingers in there and hold it in place. Okay, looking good. Just slide that in there. Now we will be doing some more gluing in a minute. So this is, we've got 3 of them ready here. I'm just going to glue this one together, then I'll come right back and show you how to put this together. Okay, we have all 4 of these boxes ready. We've glued the top and the bottom, and we have an outside piece which we're going to face towards ourselves with this one. We're going to face it to the outside here, to the outside here, and again to the outside. So what we're going to do is have these 4 come together. Now the part that's a little more difficult than anything is you have to take this flap and slide it into the open flap and then glue it together. Right now we're just going to place them together to make sure everything fits. So this one will go in that way. Now the biggest thing I find is if we don't fold these back and forth, you don't get a crisper fold. So I'm going to take my flap and I'm going to fold it back and forth a couple of times. I'm going to put it in the slot just like that so it gets a little easier. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm just going to give it a crisper fold. And this is going to go into the slot here. That looks pretty good. Now, same thing, nice crisp fold. I might as well fold this one at the same time. Now, we will be gluing these together in a minute. I just want to make sure everything fits. Now, I just have to find the slot here. There's a slot right there, and that will fit right in, and then we connect the whole thing together. Right here is the final slot, and we will glue them together just to make sure they don't come apart. But this is what you're going to end up with. You have 4 like this. It'll also form another shape when you come this way. So it's going to be able to go back and forth, and that's called a pivot box. So our last little trick here is we have to take each one of these flaps and we've got to slide it in while it's slippery with glue at the same time. So it takes a little bit of an effort. You don't have to have a lot of glue on here, just enough to get it to stick inside. Now you could use 4 different papers as I had on another one for a pivot box. You don't have to glue the lids down. You can keep those open. Those can put little treats. So here's the one that I had done before. As I had mentioned, I put a little design on the top and the bottom. So they're just a cute little thing to play with. Lots of fun to put together. You can just use your imagination, and you can make them smaller or larger. And that's it for this one, so I hope you had a lot of fun with this. Well, I hope you had a lot of fun putting this together. This is the one that we did today. It has 2 squares, the same color on one side, 2 on the other, so that you can pivot them around. And you can add little designs on the inside if you want. This is the one we made today. And this is one that I had put together previously. I had added a little design on the top, and when you move it, it does change. Now you can also decide not to glue the top shut and put little treats inside. Make these just fun little gifts, things to do. When you're sitting at the dinner table, you can put those on the table. And it was a lot of fun, and it's so easy to put together. And I hope you really enjoyed this craft. And one last thing before you go, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel.